This is for women who have been holding everything together and quietly wondering when it became this heavy. The pharmacist asked if I wanted the generic or the brand name, and I just stood there, staring at the little white bag in her hand like I'd forgotten what language she was speaking. It wasn't the first time that week I'd lost a word mid-sentence, but it was the first time it happened in public, with 3 people behind me in line. As if that explained why I'd been awake at 2 a.m. every single night for 6 months. Heart pounding like I'd just run a marathon in my own bed. Nobody tells you it's not just about falling asleep. I could fall asleep. That wasn't the problem. The problem was waking up at 1:47 a.m., not 1:30, not 2 o'clock, but 1:47, like my body had set an alarm I couldn't turn off. And then the heat would come. Not the kind you can fix with a fan. The kind that starts somewhere deep inside your chest and radiates out until you're throwing off blankets, then pulling them back on 2 minutes later because now you're freezing. My daughter called that night while I was making dinner. Well, reheating dinner. I'd stopped cooking real meals somewhere around month 4 of this. "Mom, you sound tired." "I'm fine. You always say that." She wasn't wrong, but what was I supposed to say? That I de-googled YCAUNT. I sleep during menopause so many times, my phone now auto-completes it. That I'd tried magnesium, melatonin, lavender oil, white noise machines, sleep meditations, cutting out caffeine, cutting out alcohol, eating earlier, eating later, sleeping in a different room. "I'm just busy," I told her, which was true. Busy lying awake. Busy calculating how many hours until my alarm. Busy watching the ceiling fan go around and around while my mind replayed every conversation I'd had that day. Every email I should have sent differently. Every small failure that felt enormous at 3 a.m. She told me about her new job, her boyfriend, something funny her coworker said. I made the right sounds at the right times. When we hung up, I couldn't remember a single thing she'd told me. That's what this does. It hollows you out. I met a woman at the grocery store a few weeks before all this. We were both reaching for the same brand of teeth, a kind that promises restful sleep in soft purple letters. She laughed, said good luck with that. She was maybe 52, 53, put together. The kind of woman who looked like she had her life figured out. "Does it work?" I asked. "Not for me, but I keep buying it anyway. Hope springs eternal, right?" We stood there for a moment, 2 strangers in the tea aisle, holding our little boxes of hope. She told me she hadn't slept through the night in almost a year. Hot flashes, night sweats, racing thoughts. Her doctor had given her sleeping pills, but they made her feel foggy the next day. "Like I'm living underwater," she said. "What did you do?" I asked. She shook her head. "Still figuring it out. Some nights are better than others." I started keeping the bedroom cold, like really cold, and I got blackout curtains. It helps a little. That was the part that stayed with me. Not a cure, not a solution, just a little bit better. I didn't understand yet what she was really telling me. The thing about sleepless nights is they start to blur together. You lose track of what day it is. You forget things you normally wouldn't forget. Appointments, names, why you walked into a room. At work, I'd sit in meetings and realize I hadn't heard the last 3 minutes of conversation. I'd smile, nod, hope nobody noticed. My husband noticed. "You're not yourself," he said one morning. We were both getting ready for work. That rushed 20 minutes before we had to leave. I was standing in front of my closet, staring at clothes I'd worn 100 times, unable to decide on anything. "I'm tired," I said. "Maybe you should see someone." I did. 3 someones. They all say the same thing. He didn't push it. He never does. That's not his way. But I saw the concern in his eyes. The same look I'd seen in my daughter's voice on the phone. Like I was disappearing and they didn't know how to bring me back. Here's what nobody tells you. The exhaustion isn't the worst part. The worst part is how it changes you. How you start declining invitations because you can't predict if you'll be too tired. How you stop making plans because you don't trust your own energy anymore. How you become smaller, quieter, less of who you used to be. I used to be someone who said yes to things. Now I'm someone who calculates the cost of everything in terms of sleep I won't get. But something happened 3 nights after that pharmacy visit that changed how I understood this whole thing. I was lying in bed awake, of course, at my usual 1:47 a.m., when I remembered something the woman in the tea aisle had said. Not the part about the cold room or the curtains. Something else. Something I'd almost missed. Some nights are better than others. Not all nights are the same. I'd been treating every sleepless night like they were identical. Like they all had the same cause, the same solution. But they weren't. Some nights I woke up hot. Some nights my mind was racing. Some nights my legs felt restless, like I needed to move. Some nights I woke up and felt completely alert, like my body had decided it was morning, even though it was still dark outside. They were different problems, which meant they might need different solutions. I started keeping a notebook on my nightstand, not for gratitude journaling or dream analysis or any of that stuff I'd seen online, just facts. What time I woke up, what I felt. Hot, cold, anxious, restless, alert. 3 words, maximum. No overthinking the first week. I wrote the same thing every night. Hot racing thoughts. 1:47. But the second week something shifted. Tuesday night I woke up at 2:15. Not hot, just wide awake. Thursday I woke up at 1:30. Drenched in sweat, but calm. Saturday I slept until 3:45. Then couldn't fall back asleep because my legs wouldn't stop moving. They weren't the same night repeating. They were different problems wearing the same disguise. A woman I know from work, Karen, 58, always has perfect lipstick. Even on Zoom calls mentioned during a coffee break that she'd been having trouble sleeping. I usually avoid these conversations. Everyone has advice. Chamomile tea, meditation apps, going to bed earlier. As if I hadn't tried everything already. But I asked her anyway. What kind of trouble? She looked at me like I'd asked a strange question. What do you mean? What kind? I mean, is it hot flashes? Anxiety? Restless legs? What wakes you up? She thought about it. Really thought about it. I guess both. The heat wakes me up, and then my mind starts going and I can't shut it off. It's like one triggers the other. What did you try? My doctor gave me hormone replacement. It helped with the flashes, but not the mind racing part. So now I still wake up, just less sweaty. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. I started listening to podcasts at 2 a.m., not sleep ones. True crime. Something about someone else's problems makes mine feel smaller. I understood that more than I wanted to. That night, I woke up at 1:52. Hot flash. I wrote it down, but I also wrote down what happened after. Thought about email I sent to boss, replayed entire conversation, imagined different responses, couldn't stop. The heat was one problem. The thoughts were another. My doctor had treated them like they were the same thing. Menopause disrupts sleep, but she hadn't asked which part of sleep was disrupted, or how, or why it mattered. I started researching. Not Google rabbit holes at 3 a.m. Those only made things worse. Real research. Medical studies, forums where women talked about what actually worked, not what they wished worked. Here's what I learned. When estrogen drops, your body's temperature regulation goes haywire. That explains the heat, but progesterone affects your brain's calming mechanisms. that explains why you can't shut off your thoughts. They're connected, but they're not the same problem, and they don't have the same solution. I tried something different. On nights I woke up hot, I had ice water ready on my nightstand. I'd drink it, let my body temperature drop naturally, and most nights I'd fall back asleep within 20 minutes. On nights my mind was racing, I'd get up, leave the bedroom and sit in the living room for 15 minutes. Just sit, no phone, no TV. Sometimes I'd fold laundry. Sometimes I'd stare out the window at the empty street. It felt wrong. Everything I'd read said you should stay in bed. Train your body to associate bed with sleep. But that advice was written for people whose bodies were cooperating. Mine wasn't. The third week, I slept through the night twice, not because I'd found a miracle cure, but because I'd stopped fighting what was happening and started working with it. My sister called that weekend. She's 51, 3 years older than me, and she'd been dealing with this for longer. I asked her what she did about sleep. I gave up trying to control it, she said. Some nights are good, some nights aren't. I stopped making it mean something was wrong with me. But something is wrong. No, something is different. There's a difference. I wanted to argue with her, but I couldn't, because she was right. I'd been treating this like a failure, my body failing, my mind failing, me failing, but bodies change. That's not failure, that's just biology. A woman I'd never met left a comment on a forum I was reading. She was 55, had been dealing with insomnia for 7 years. She wrote, "I stopped counting how many hours I slept and started counting how many hours I rested. Even if I'm awake, lying in bed with my eyes closed in a quiet room is rest. It's not sleep, but it's not nothing." That shifted something in me, because I'd been lying awake feeling like every minute I wasn't sleeping was a minute wasted. A minute I'd pay for tomorrow. But rest isn't the same as sleep. And some rest is better than no rest. I started doing that. On nights I couldn't fall back asleep, I'd stop trying. I'd lie there, eyes closed, breathing slowly, just resting. Not fighting, not calculating hours, not panicking about tomorrow. And you know what happened. Some of those nights, I fell asleep without realizing it. Not because I'd tried harder, but because I'd stopped trying at all. My husband noticed I was different before I did. "You seem calmer," he said one morning. I'd slept maybe 5 hours. By my old standards, that would have been a disaster, but I didn't feel like a disaster. I felt okay. Tired? Yes, but okay. I'm learning how to be tired differently, I told him. He didn't understand, and I didn't expect him to. How do you explain to someone who sleeps 8 hours every night that you've made peace with sleeping 5? That you've stopped measuring yourself against who you used to be and started accepting who you are now? But here's the part that surprised me most. Some nights got better, not because my body changed, but because I changed what I was asking my body to do. I moved my bedtime from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. I stopped taking melatonin because it made me groggy. I started eating dinner earlier, not because some articles said to, but because I noticed on my own that late meals made the hot flashes worse. Small adjustments. Nothing dramatic. Nothing just one woman, in her late 40s, figuring out her own body one night at a time. There wasn't a moment where everything clicked. No breakthrough. No miracle morning where I woke up and felt like myself again. Because maybe I'd never feel exactly like myself again. Maybe this was myself now and that was okay. Or maybe it would keep changing, and I'd keep adjusting, and that was okay too. 3 months into tracking my sleep patterns, I stopped writing in the notebook every night. Not because the problem went away, but because I didn't need the proof anymore. I knew my body now. I could tell the difference between a hot flash night and an anxious mind night. between a restless leg night and an alert body night. Each one required something different from me. On hot flash nights, I kept the room at 65 degrees. My husband wore 2 layers. We laughed about it now, this strange new accommodation we'd made. On anxious nights, I had a routine. Up out of bed, 20 minutes in the living room with dim light. Back to bed, no drama, no frustration. Just a simple pattern my body had learned to expect. Some nights, I still only slept 4 hours, but I stopped catastrophizing about it. That's the word my therapist used when I finally went to see one. Not for sleep, originally, for the fog, the forgetting, the feeling like I was losing pieces of myself. She asked me to describe a typical sleepless night, and I started with I. Wake up and immediately start calculating how many hours until my alarm, and how exhausted I'll be tomorrow, and how I'll probably mess up at work. And she held up her hand. That's catastrophizing. You're writing a horror story about tomorrow before tomorrow even happens. But I am exhausted. Yes, but are you actually messing up at work? Or are you just afraid you will? I thought about it. Really thought about it. My performance reviews were fine. Good even. I hadn't missed any deadlines. Hadn't forgotten any major meetings. The disaster I was predicting every night at 2 a.m. had never actually happened. It's the story I'm telling myself that's making it worse, I said slowly. Yes, that was harder to fix than the hot flashes. Changing my thoughts, my automatic patterns of fear. But I started practicing. When I woke up and felt the panic rising, how will I function tomorrow on no sleep ID? Ask myself. How did I function yesterday on no sleep, and the day before that, and the day before that? I'd functioned maybe not perfectly, but adequately. The world hadn't ended. I met another woman at my dentist's office. We were both in the waiting room, both filling out the same update forms we'd filled out 100 times before. She was rubbing her eyes, and I recognized that specific kind of tired. Rough night? I asked. She looked up surprised. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who knows. She smiled. A real smile, not a polite one. Menopause insomnia. Going on 2 years now. You 8 months. But it's getting better really. What did you do? And here's what I told her, not because I had all the answers, but because I de-learned a few small true things. I stopped trying to sleep like I used to. I started paying attention to what kind of night it was and responding to that instead of fighting it. And I stopped making it mean I was broken. She wrote something down on the back of her form. What kind of night it was. I never thought of it like that. They're not all the same, I said. That was the biggest thing I learned. They feel the same when you're in them, but they're not. The dental assistant called her name. Before she left, she turned back. Thank you. Nobody's ever explained it that way before. I understood why. Because doctors give you diagnoses and prescriptions. Friends give you sympathy or solutions. But nobody gives you permission to just learn your own body, to experiment, to find what works for you even if it wouldn't work for anyone else. My daughter visited last month. We were making breakfast together, actually making it, not reheating it, she said. You seem more like yourself. Do I? Yeah, I don't know. Lighter maybe. I thought about that word lighter, not because the problem had disappeared, but because I'd stopped carrying it like a boulder. It was still there, this thing my body did at night, but it wasn't defining me anymore. I'm sleeping better, I said. That's good. No, I mean I'm not sleeping more, but I'm better at it. Does that make sense? She nodded. I think so. That night, I woke up at 2:13. Hot flash. I drank my ice water, adjusted my pillow to the cool side, breathed slowly. Fell back asleep by 2:30, woke up again at 4:45, mind already churning about a presentation I had later that week. Got up, sat in the living room for 15 minutes, folding the laundry I'd left in the basket, went back to bed, slept until my alarm. 5.5 hours total. Broken sleep. By any normal standard, not enough. But I got up that morning and felt okay. Not great, not energized. Just okay. And okay was enough. Because here's what I know now that I didn't know 8 months ago. This isn't something you fix. It's something you learn to live with. And then, if you're patient and paying attention, something you learn to navigate. Some nights will always be hard. Some nights will surprise you by being easy. You can't control which kind of night you'll get, but you can control how you meet it. I still keep the notebook, but now I use it differently. Instead of tracking failures I didn't sleep, times I woke up, I track what worked. Ice water on Tuesday, leaving the room on Thursday, extra blanket on Saturday. Small things, boring things, things that won't make a good Instagram post or a viral video, but they're mine, and they work. Not every time, but enough times that I trust myself now. That's the real change. Not that I sleep better, though some nights I do. It's that I trust myself to handle the nights when I don't. My body is different now. It will keep changing. This might get better, or it might shift into something else I'll have to learn. But I'm not afraid of that anymore. I'm just paying attention, adjusting, resting when I can't sleep, sleeping when I can, living my life either way, and that's enough. If this story resonated with you, you recognized yourself somewhere in these words, I'd love to hear your experience. Share your story in the comments below, and if you found value in this, please subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything, and I'm so grateful you're here, listening, and being part of this community. Thank you for watching.